So Luke Gronewold, director of sales. I've been with Stat now for 6 months, I think, but was a client for Stat 2-3 years when I was at Kraft Heinz.
Yeah.
And that's where I first met you in real life. I knew your name from your Walmart days and my Walmart days.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm Jason Holyfield, and I've been with Stat now for, well, depending on which date you look at, 3 years or 2 years. So I was a consultant first, and then came on full time about 2 years ago in the CX space, and then kind of to your point, like now over as a director of sales, trying to help grow the business. So, fun background: 26 years at Walmart. Went to the supplier community after leaving Walmart. Did that as a national account manager for a few years. Had the opportunity to work with Stat and realized the value that they bring. And so when the opportunity came to join the team, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar for me. I think when I contemplate my decision to move to Stat, it was really, I think there were a couple of really easy selling points for me. One was the value they brought when I was a client.
Yeah.
Was crystal clear. And it was stuff that my organization either couldn't focus on because it was really granular detail that wasn't value add, like when we think of the distinct things that Stat looks at.
Yep.
Or it was stuff that we just weren't aware of. And so there's a lot that when Stat starts to dig that you find that you just didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And then it turns into cash and shows up in your P&L. So that's, I'm sure your experience was similar.
It was. As a matter of fact, we were actually using a different service at the time when I started there at the company, and we had gone through all the deductions and managed everything, and it was more software based. But we felt like we were in a pretty good spot, and then I got a call from Casey, who was the co-founder of Stat, and he said, "Hey, let's just take a look at the numbers and see what we can do." So we did, and sure enough, there was money left on the table. And so that's part of the reason when, the opportunity came to join Stat, it was like, I'd be silly not to. As a matter of fact, I was talking, you know how you talk about like getting into the details. I was talking to a client last night, and they were talking about, well, why can't we do this in-house? Like, shouldn't we be able to do this in-house? We're a large company. We have the knowledge and the understanding, like we should be able to do this in-house. And it's like, you should, but your job is to create product and sell product. That's what you're good at. And it was funny because I used the analogy, does Tiger Woods make his own golf clubs? No. He has input, but there's a company out there who specializes in doing these things. Why? Because he doesn't know how to make a golf club. It's the same thing in accounting, and then with finance, like you've got to be really good at it, right? And finding the right people, finding the right resources and having that knowledge base is really difficult for companies to do when it's changing all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult.
I think that's true. I think in some of the places where Stat really excels, it's not always consistent. And so it's difficult for companies to carry all the overhead of like keeping employees who specialize in this and stay current with this kind of work.
Yep.
Especially when Stat is an option that you can have that variable expense only when you have recoveries.
Yes.
And I think that makes a lot of sense just from a compensation lens for these different companies, and then just take that off the plate, let them focus on the main thing, like accounts receivable as a whole, let them focus on that. Let someone else go drill into these details that you really probably won't be able to sort out completely by yourself anyway.
That's right. And you're spot on. I think probably the biggest feedback when I was in CX for Stat, the biggest feedback we got was they loved the contingency rate because they knew what they were investing. Like the ROI was apparent, right? It wasn't a guessing game. I wasn't paying a flat fee and hoping that I was going to have enough, deductions or recoveries to make up the difference of what I'm paying. It was literally, well, if they don't get anything back, I don't have to pay them anything.
Yeah.
And that part of it was really, really nice. So
it's a great model.
It really is.
Tell you if there's something there before you have to sign a contract.
That's right.
So everyone knows the size of prize before you even have to engage. I think that's one of my favorite things in the sales function.
Agreed. When you think about like the value proposition that staff brings, that contingency rate, and then when you also think about just like crowdsourcing of information, right? So what makes AI so relevant, right? It's pulling from millions and millions and millions of data points to come up with a solution. And so if you're a single supplier and you're dealing with Walmart and you see something that pops up, it's the first time you've dealt with it. It's the first time you've seen it. But when Stat sees it, it may be the 15th time or the 20th time or the 100th time. And our team stays on top of what's happening at Walmart. We have dedicated resources to helping make sure that we're aware of what's happening. And so you're not having to fight those things alone when you work with somebody like Stat.
Yeah. Interesting to me when I came over to Stat from just that Walmart lens to see that then played out at Target and Amazon.
Yes.
And to meet the people who have the depth of experience that people like you have at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that bench strength plays across other retailers too.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely. I think when I was at Kraft, we would see, Stat would come to us and say, hey, we've discovered this other component of recovery that's available.
Yep.
We're seeing it play out with different clients.
Mm-hmm.
We've reviewed your data and see opportunity XYZ, and here's the value of it. And that was huge for us to just have someone constantly evaluating back end.
Well, and we did some analysis actually at the end of the year for another client, and it goes beyond just the regular scope, right? So, we do historical audits, obviously, where we're taking a look at where in the past you maybe left money on the table, or Walmart as Amazon or Target has not paid. But we also have people who are looking at just the ins and outs of the business, right? So my favorite terminology is the forensic accounting. Just taking a look, because like when I was the national account manager for that company, it wasn't always just, oh, they didn't pay us for something. Sometimes it was, we made a mistake on our side and we didn't invoice it properly. We didn't do something properly. And Stat on multiple occasions has been able to help companies identify where there's an opportunity on their side and get that resolved as well. And so that's an area where I think it's kind of not as well known, right? It's not as out there. We don't advertise it a lot, but it is an area for companies to have an additional resource with Stat that maybe you don't get with somebody else, especially the ones that are out there who are primarily focused on deductions, right? They're not looking at your overall business and your overall financials with Walmart or Target or Amazon. I think a good way to do it is how does Stat differ from some of the competition that's out there? Is you get a dedicated CX manager, customer service manager you can call. Like, you'll have their phone number, you'll have their email address. You can reach out anytime, right? And so having that dedicated person is an area where I think for many clients, having somebody who can connect all of the dots for them, help dig in, help figure out what's going on, really, really, really has a good impact on them. So,
what do you see as kind of the top considerations when somebody is considering working with Stat or any kind of recovery company?
Yeah, I know for me it was around one, what's the value, right? What value does this company bring? What's my return on the investment? And then two is what the second or third one is, how much work is this going to be for me? Do I have to add somebody? Do I have to have a dedicated associate that just works with Stat? Like, what's the additional workload? And then third, it's ease of use, right? So if I've got the Stat portal, the client portal that's out there, how easy is that to use for my team when they're going in and looking at it? I will tell you, when I was on CX, there's a couple of things that CX does. So they're sending out weekly reports or biweekly reports based on what the client's needs are. they're telling you what's happening in the business. They're giving you those periodic updates. Now, if you're a client and you're not wanting that information every week, they'll work with you. They'll send it to you once a month. Or if you're, like, hey, we're doing end of quarter, end of whatever. I don't have time to mess with this right now. The CX team will notate that, and they'll back off and not bug you as much.
I did that with you all the time.
You absolutely did. You're like, hey, we're getting to the end of the quarter. Give me a couple more weeks and let us close this before you get us more money back. So we do that. Like, they're flexible. The CX team is unique though, because they understand your business. They're looking at it. They're looking at it on a weekly basis. They're going in, they've got reporting and information that they can share. But in addition to that, there's a client portal that you as a client would have access to that brings all of your data in and makes it easily accessible and easily digestible. I will tell you, one of the favorite things that many of our clients talked about is, I don't know how often you get into APIS on the Walmart side, but it's not easy to use. Like, you're looking for something, trying to find it, you're pulling data. With our tools and with the client portal, you can literally go in there and type in a check number. You can go in there and type in a PO number. You can go in and type in an invoice number, and it's going to pull back all the transactions associated for that. Like, we're going in and helping pull that data and making it and putting it into a system and a tool that is easily accessible for the client, but then also easy to navigate for the client, so that tracking down, hey, I had a missed PO here, or I had a invoice there. And the nice thing is, it's not just stuff that staff worked on. It's your own business. So if you're just going through the day-to-day business and you need something that's easier to find, many of our clients find that our client portal research area is a great tool. And it's just something that just comes with the rest of the package. There's no additional cost for that.
That's one that I underutilized when I was on the client side of Stat. Yeah. Because I think in larger organizations, as checks start to come back, it's hard to differentiate what was the product of the work with Stat. So, like, kind of what was recovery work and what was just a normal flow of business.
Yep.
And that client portal spells it out very clearly.
Yeah.
It was particularly important to me because we were able to use the recovery funds from Stat back into our trade budget. So it helped me plan my P&L and then equip the sales team with funds to go run promotions or take costs on items or get out of a jam with a buyer.
Yeah.
And being able to see that quantified was critical for planning.
Yeah.
I think when I think of the top considerations, the only other one I'd add from the ones you listed off is just the integrity of the recovery really mattered for us. And I think it does for everyone.
Yeah.
As you contemplate the impact or potential impact you have with these really critical relationships with retailers, you need to know that the data you're submitting and the recovery of these funds is legitimate.
Yep.
Everybody wants it to be fair, but sometimes things get a little murky, especially if you're talking about a rolling 2-year time horizon.
It is.
So being able to know that and then see the source data for it was a big thing for us too.
Yeah. And you talked about the integrity of the data. I think probably the to tack onto that is the security of the data. So knowing that Stat is SOC 2 compliant, that all of our systems are set up to protect your data is really important for our clients. Like, we have some clients who are small and they're like, hey, I'm not as concerned about all of that because we don't have a whole lot of business. And then you have clients that are massive who are, no, let's go through all of the steps that you're taking, right? And so if that's ever a concern for a client, like, that it's an easy conversation with the IT teams to help identify, what are those concerns? What are the things that you need us to do to feel secure and know that your data is secure, because we spend a lot of time and energy making sure that data is secure for our clients. And so when they access their portal, it's only them who can access it. It's nobody else. And so our team does a great job. I think Nick and his team over there just do a fantastic job of making sure that we're staying ahead of the game on that base. Yes.
So now that you're on the Stat side,
mm-hmm.
what does Stat do that kind of surprises you or that you didn't expect now that you're with the stat team?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest thing was we had used other software packages in the past and other things that are out there. But the thing that Stat does that is a little bit different, one, you're going to have that dedicated resource, that CX manager. Two, they're looking at your overall book of business with the retailer. They're not just picking and choosing certain aspects. So whether it's an allowance, a pricing issue, a shortage, a overage, any of the anywhere, and I like to use the term. Stat looks for ways or looks for areas where the retailer still owes you money, and it doesn't matter what bucket it falls under. One area where we see a lot of traction lately is post audits, right? Because there are several different post audit groups out there going after suppliers and trying to find areas where suppliers are supposed to be paying for something and they didn't. And so they go back out and they reissue that post audit. The problem is they use kind of a generic framework for how they do that. I have a great example from my time in my previous role is we were doing a promotion with Sam's Club, and the buyer was like, "Hey, we're going to put this in the tab." For those of you who are younger, a tab is a piece of paper that they used to put in the Sunday paper that would show you what was on sale that week. So we were going to put it in the tab, and the buyer put it in there all on her own. And we had not talked about the cost of doing so. And so fast forward 9 months, post audit's like, wait a minute, y'all didn't pay for this tab. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We didn't agree to pay for a tab. And so we just went back to the buyer and had the conversation. And fortunately for me, we'd already signed up with Stat. And so I had the conversation and they, Stat was able to help us have that conversation, help us identify where the issue was, and then push back and was able to get that post audit reversed because we hadn't agreed to that. Right. And the post audit team was doing what they thought was right, which was, if you're in the tab, you pay for it. That's the standard.
Sure.
But there's always these one-offs, and Stat's really good at helping identify where those one-offs are, and making sure that you get the money back. I think probably the other big one right now in the post audit space is that transportation logistics, some of those fines that post audit's finding where it's like, hey, your item file doesn't match whatever. And so we're seeing some success with pushing back on some of those to say, hey, you came and picked up the truck, it was full. Like, I don't, whatever. I don't know exactly how they're doing it. I don't operate in that space. So they put me in sales and not over at post audit. But yeah, so we're seeing success in that post audit space as well. And it's really kind of, and that's different, right? That's when we talk about like what separates Stat. Stat's not just looking at this one thing. We're looking at the overall picture, and trying to help clients find areas of recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Post audit to me was a pretty foreign thing. It was something that we definitely encountered in my line of work. But it wasn't until being on the Stat team, meeting the folks who work in our post audit team, right? And their depth of knowledge and working for these post audit companies. And now we've hired them in, some CPAs to then come and help troubleshoot this stuff, break down that logic into some granular, data points, and then get some recovery, partial recovery, full recovery of these third-party post audits that we thought were lost.
Yeah.
That's been a pleasant surprise.
It really, there's a funny story because one of our post audit guys actually disputed a post audit that he wrote when he was at post audit, right? So it's like, oh, okay, well, why did you write it in the first place? And it's really two sides of the lens, right? Well, he thought when he was with the post audit company that this was the proper way to do it. But then talking with the client, understanding and gaining that BI, that business intelligence from what actually happened in this situation, come to find out, actually, no, that's not what needed to be happening. and no, that wasn't a valid claim. And so was able to get it reversed within his first 2 weeks here. And so to me, that's funny because it's like, oh, you got your own claim reversed. What were you doing over there?
Welcome to the team.
Welcome to the good side, right? But yeah, so I think, post audits are another area. I'll tell you what, the one I'm most excited about is Amazon and Target. Like, Stat started with Walmart, right? Our founders are former Walmart folks, and the team, a lot of folks here in Bentonville, Walmart folks. But Amazon and Target and the folks that we've brought in to help manage that business as well, just really incredible people, really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We've got a team that is so experienced, and especially on the Amazon side, like if you've ever had the opportunity to sit down with that team and talk to them about what's the process like, what are we, how are we doing it? Funny story. I was talking to them a couple of weeks ago, and they told me that they had a supplier that or a client that we had been working with who was using a different company, and they weren't really sure they wanted to leave them because they were really good at what they were doing. And somebody, I don't know if it was you or somebody else on the sales team, was able to say, okay, well, just give us a certain time period. Like, just give us, this 6-month period, and let us go after that for you and see if we can find anything. And, that company had already done it, and we were able to find some money. It wasn't a lot, but it was still some more money for that client. Right. And so, I look at what the work that our Amazon team is doing, and it's just really, really impressive.
Yeah, I had a similar experience on our Target side. And I've gotten to know our Target team. The person I was speaking with was, I think, 30 years in Target AP. It was a very long time. And of course, she's extremely knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah.
In what's going on. And we did a similar process. We had already, a client we were working with had already used some other provider.
Oh.
And they recovered. They were happy.
Yeah.
They were a client of ours on the Walmart side. And so we said, hey, look, we'll do the same thing. We'll do a second pass. We'll take a look. There's no harm. If we don't find anything, there's no cost.
Right.
And we found a lot, because the other provider was looking for very specific things. And I think many of the providers are looking for things and automating and creating efficiency around those things that show up in the retailer portal.
Yeah.
But not looking at some of the things that don't show up in that retailer portal. And that's, there were opportunities for this specific client that came through there. So fun to do a second pass with someone already using someone else and
absolutely
find money.
It's interesting because we hear all the time, hey, we use somebody else. We got a supplier for that. I actually had one I reached out to, just this morning. And he stepped back. He's like, oh man, I've already got somebody doing that. But if you can do, I think it was like Lowe's. Well, we're not doing Lowe's yet. However, would you not like a free analysis of how that team is doing? So that's the other thing. It's like, hey, it doesn't hurt anything to say, hey, Stat, you know what? I'm already using somebody else, but if you want to look and see what you can find, and if you can come up with some more money, cool. Give us that chance to do that second pass, right? Worst case, it's just an audit of the group that you've already, working with. It's a free audit. If they're doing a great job, we'll tell you there's no money for us to go get because they've already got it for you. But if they're not doing as well, it gives you an opportunity to be like, hey, maybe I should reconsider my options.
Yeah.
So we see that. We've seen that a couple of times where suppliers will kind of give us that opportunity, and we go out and show them. I think my favorite stories are the ones where we'll have a supplier, and I've seen this happen a couple of times on the CX side. Supplier will give their notice, and they're going to go, give somebody else a try. And actually just last week, we had one of those guys reach back out, be like, hey, we're coming back. Let's sit down and talk about what we could do. Because it's a little different. Like there's a lot of good companies out there that do good work. But I don't think, and this is a personal opinion, but I don't think any of them are as comprehensive in their analysis and their recovery of status.
I haven't found one yet. I'm afraid that I will, but I haven't found one yet.
Yeah.
And I think with the amount of crossover we've had with having clients come on who have already been using various other providers, I haven't seen anybody that can perform at the same depth, especially across the different services we provide.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a key point. Like, we're hitting multiple retailers now, and we've got more coming out this year. I don't know that they've announced who or what, but we're expecting a couple more this year. And it's just crazy to me how comprehensive stat is in their recovery.
Yeah. I think a lot of it plays to the culture of stat. So it's a relatively young company, I think founded in 18.
Yeah.
Still has that entrepreneurial bent to it.
Yeah.
So you have a team of really capable people who are given license to go do what makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has a pretty shared passion around like recovering funds for their clients, because that's the fun of the job.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think people have the ability to go be creative and drill into different areas to keep finding new ways to recover.
That's right. On the CX side, the team over there, several of them have come from different backgrounds around, hospitality or whatever. But it's always crazy to me because it always comes back to the data. Right. And so, watching some of our CX team members start digging into the data and looking and being like, oh, no, wait, there's an opportunity here for this client. Let's go talk to our analytics team and see what we can do. And then, you talk about like, hey, what's best for this client? So we'll have clients that sign up for a historical audit, but they don't want to do DMS. They don't want to do post audits. They want to try us, right? So they're like, okay, prove your worth on that historical audit. And then having the CX team being like, hey, here's what we did on your historical, and then being able to say, but we also offer that post audit. We also offer that DMS service where we can keep up track of this in real time, right? And so you don't have to wait 6 months, a year to get your money. We can get it back for you as the deduction comes in as well. Has been a big benefit, right? So that entrepreneur spirit, the CX team is looking at it going, hey, I'm taking care of my clients.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can to get them back the most money I can. Now, I think you'll see in every piece of marketing that we do, we want to get you back the money that you're owed, that you've earned. We don't want to get you back money that's not yours. We're not looking to trick the system. We're not looking to, do an end around something and get money back that doesn't actually belong to you. No. The money that stat finds is money that you've earned, and it is legitimately yours. And that's the thing that I think most suppliers or most, clients that we would deal with really appreciate.
I think the advice I would give to any potential client for us, or just as they evaluate different recovery options, have everybody pull the numbers. Like, if you need a commitment, if a recovery agency needs a commitment before they show you the value of what they can offer, I think that's a good indicator their value is limited. So have the different recovery options pull the numbers, express what they can do, and just plain math, and then make your decision based on that. I know other people have different requirements for that. So a lot of people want a certain interface, and there may be other conditions. But I think as you have interviews with different recovery services, get to know the people a little bit, see what they bring to the table, then I think you can make a pretty informed decision at that point.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great aspect. I think the other thing is, what is the value? Not all recovery companies are created equal. We've talked earlier today about how stat a little different, right? But if you're going to go out and compare apples to apples, then you've got to look at what the value that they're bringing to you is. We hear quite a bit that, a client may come back and go, well, this service over here, give me a flat fee for whatever. And it's like, yes, but they're not doing this, and this. They're just doing that, right? They're handling one piece of this. Stat's going to have 2 or 3 other pieces that we're going to throw in there and help you with along the way. And so don't always, what's the word? Cheaper is not always better, right? Sometimes you get what you pay for. Those type of comments, it's true when you're talking about recovery services as well, because somebody can come out and there's some, this isn't a new space, but there's some new players in the space and they're coming out. They're trying to be, a little bit cheaper than what's out there or a little bit whatever. The problem is they're not as good as, and so you have to factor that into your evaluation, right? What am I paying for, right? And with stat, again, we work off contingency. So if we don't get it back for you, don't pay us, and you know what your ROI is going in. So it's a no-win, or it's a win-win situation for you as a client, because you're going to know walking into it what your cost is going to be. Those flat fees are great until you have a month where you don't get anything back and you still have to pay that flat fee.
Yeah.
So
I think for anyone on the fence about joining the stat client list, have us run the numbers and have us sit and actually talk through what we see, give you some examples of where it's coming from. And then you have a really definite number that you could pursue, and that's something to associate doing business with us.
Yeah.
We can also give professional references of current clients,
absolutely,
other folks in your CPG community that you might already know.
Yeah.
Certainly you already know someone who is a client for us.
Absolutely.
Can provide names and people to talk through their own experiences from just a totally independent perspective.
Yeah. Absolutely. The good news is, if you want a client's perspective, we have clients that have said, "Hey, we love this so much. If you want me to talk to somebody, love to go and talk to somebody," right? Because that's the value that stat brings to their business. I can tell you at least once a month, I get an email from a client when I was on the CX side who would say, "I can't believe you got me this money back. Like, I don't know how y'all did it. Or the astonishment of, I can't believe you got me this money back. How did you do that?" No, it's like, well, that's proprietary.
Had one of those last week.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, between that and the, why can't we do this ourselves? Right. I think those are the two biggest things that week. I love to hear from clients sometimes is, so Luke, one of the biggest, or one of the concerns that we sometimes get from clients is you'll have a CFO or somebody higher up in the organization who'll be like, "Hey, we're going to go with stat and we're going to have them help us get this money back." And then they'll assign a point of contact. And sometimes that point of contact is like, "Oh, is stat trying to take my job?" Let me reassure you, we don't want your job. Your job is more complicated than anything stat can do. But what stat's here to do is allow you to be able to focus on the things that actually drive your business forward. Give you the opportunity to go drive and get growth and increase your productivity, and not be spending a lot of time on stuff that we can do, and we can do it. We're using information and things that a lot of our clients just don't have access to. And so I would say on the CX side, one of the bigger concerns that we would see sometimes from our POCs or from accounting departments or whatever is, why haven't I been able to do this? Like, and you'll hear it from a CFO every once in a while. Why can't we do this in-house? Well, it's not their fault. It's not the accounting person's fault. They don't have access to the large data set that we do to see the trends that are happening within the Walmart and the Target systems and see all of that kind of stuff. And so they can't identify sometimes where this money is being left, right? And especially larger clients, especially where it's like, hey, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions every single week. And it's a lot. And you've got probably 2 or 3 people trying to manage it. And it's like, yeah, that's asking a lot, right?
We have clients where the amount of data itself is the issue. And especially as they start trying to figure out ways to go solve, $50 here, $100 there on thousands and thousands of invoices. Yeah. You can't do that one by one. And so
right.
Being able to kind of batch process that and have it analyzed and recovered in in an automated fashion, the way Stat would do it.
Yeah.
It's the only way to go clean some of that up in a way that actually makes sense from a spend standpoint from these big clients.
Yeah.
The other piece, you cannot see some of the places with the way these retailers do their receivings and then pay invoices. Some of the issues there become visible in their portal, or you might be able to see it in your own AR data.
Yeah.
Much of it you can't see as payments get mapped back to different purchase orders they weren't originally associated with. You kind of end up with this matrix of problems that you can't unwind, at least without taking on a huge project and weeks of time that you don't have time to go do. I think that's really where Stat steps in and can deliver to ease you up, like you said, to focus on the day-to-day, keep driving the business, and keep things on the rails as you're supposed to do. So I agree. Certainly Stat's not here to take your job. We're here to complement it and make it easier for you to do what you're supposed to be able to do.
Yeah. And when you talk about making it easier, the data collection, or not the data collection, but the document collection that we offer with the DMS service, right? So collecting those BOLs and then automatically assigning them to deductions, that's an area where for many clients, just tracking down the BOL that is needed to be able to attach to that deduction takes them 10 minutes to do one, right? And so the process that Stat's put in place to be able to escalate that and make it easier for the client so that they're not spending 10 minutes for every PO that they have to go track down a BOL for, right? Our automation goes in, grabs that BOL, pulls it down, attaches it to the deduction, disputes it for you. And all you got to do is wait and see what Walmart says, right? Did they reject it? Did they approve it? Are they asking you for more information? And for the client, it's when they ask for more information, that's when the client has to try to dig in a little bit and figure out, what's going on with that one, right? But for the other 95%, it's going to either get approved or denied based on the information that's available. And so talk about streamlining the process, not having to worry about 1,000 deductions a week to going to worry about 5 of them, really changes and opens up some free time for clients.
Sure. Yeah. Handle the exceptions and focus on strategic things. If I'm not stuck deduction work all day, I can go look at contracts and I can contemplate a play on payment terms or things that might be more meaningful to my company for cash flow or revenue recovery, but then I can apply my time doing something that's more valuable. I think the most rewarding part of this job for me, you get to meet new clients and solve new problems all the time. And it's a very short life cycle between we meet and now we have a good working relationship because of the kind of work we do. So there's a fast fulfillment cycle that happens, for your own personal fulfillment and professional too, where you can see the value you're able to add by setting up the connection between the client and Stat. And then you kind of have to make some assumptions what they're able to do with the cash they recover, but it's been helpful to their business. Yeah. And in this crazy competitive CPG world and dealing with large retailers, everything helps. And so that's
absolutely. It is. I when I started with Stat, I had the opportunity to work with on the CX side, work with some of Stat's largest clients. And so that's where you and I met when you were at Kraft. And then there was a few others that I had. But then I also had some small clients, like, they only did $2-3 million a year at Walmart. And for me, the most rewarding part was seeing those guys get back $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 because it meant something to them in a way that getting back, $100,000 for a large company, they're like, okay, cool, thanks. I'll go put that in petty cash and move on, right? And it's like, okay, it's a large number, and for some of our clients, we've gotten back millions and millions and millions of dollars, and so that's cool and that's rewarding. But for me, it's the small guy. It's the the guy who's going to get back $20,000. But that $20,000 is going to go to help make payroll, or it's going to go help make something because the company is small and they're just getting started. It's always funny to me because, in a previous world, you spend time working on all these people that are trying to get in, right? So Walmart recently had their open call, and clients our people are getting the opportunity to go and showcase these great products, innovative products, and they're getting golden tickets and they're excited about going into Walmart. But sometimes what they don't see is all of this kind of stuff that happens in the background. And so they get in there and they're selling to Walmart and they're excited. And then all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, I got a deduction, or wait a minute, what is SQEP? What is OTIFs? And it's, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to need help with this because I don't know what I'm doing. And so those are also an area where, stat, I think for me, we talk about rewarding. Those are the ones I find to be the most rewarding is helping those guys as they're starting to learn this business so that they can grow and become the next, multi-billion-dollar company. And it's crazy to watch these guys do some of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for when we think about like the stat culture, for me, the things that have happened since I've been at Stat, I've seen so much camaraderie. We are a remote company, so a lot of our CX managers are remote. A lot of our tech team and analytics also remote, and yet that guy feels like my next door neighbor, right? The constant communication, we do home bases and everybody comes together and views out and really gets to know each other. We got one coming up in a few weeks. It's going to be exciting. But it's funny to me because the connection that I have with, like when I was on CX, the team, man, I consider some of those people really good friends, like really good friends. And I've left CX, but I still talk to them every day. Right. And we're still, hey, how was your weekend? Whatever. And that goes to speak to the culture, right? At Stat, we care about the people, and that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
We've had situations where, people have had deaths in the family and, are going through a tough time or whatever. And Stat always rises to the occasion, right? Whether it's sending them, these flowers or, a gift card. I had one that was going through, they relocated. Her husband got a job in a different town. And it was like, hey, she's been going through it. And we sent her a gift card so she could get a manicure and pedicure, right? It's like just to take care of her and let her know, hey, we're thinking about you. It's been a tough couple of weeks. Moving's hard. They got a young baby, like all that kind of stuff. And so knowing that Stat cares more about the people and puts people first, I think is really, really important to me.
I agree. And I think that starts at the top and then needs to be lived out by everyone underneath. I think everybody does that. When your CEO says, come in my office anytime you want, text, call, if you need anything at all.
Yeah.
Even today, lunch with our COO and CFO because they like to get the team together once a week and just make sure they're up to speed on what's going on in the office and that they make themselves available. Huge. And I think it really plays out across all the teams that I can get a hold of. Analytics or any other functional team if I'm hung up on some kind of issue, especially if I need to get back to a client and I can touch base with a dozen people at any point that can answer a question and make sure that I'm able to get back to them.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. The funny thing is we have people who work, I think the furthest away is Hawaii and all the way, to the East Coast, and you never get left unread. Right. So you send a Slack message, you're getting a reply. You send an email, they're responding, and you're not having to wait a really long time either, right? And so that's a piece that I love about our culture is we move quick, right? So we need something done, we do it. We don't be like, oh well, we got time, we'll get it done tomorrow, we'll get it done on Tuesday, we're fine. No, it's like, hey, I was looking at this data and I had a question. Let's Zoom real quick. let's take a look at it. Let's get you your answer. Our analytics team, top notch. Like those guys and girls do an amazing amount of work for what we ask them to do. It's crazy how quickly they can turn projects around and get us numbers and get us the data so that we can tell the clients, hey, here's what we can go after, or making sure that once we have that data, we start to go after it and that it's accurate, right? And kind of to your point, like we only want to go after the stuff that is actually owed to the client. And they do a great job of slicing and dicing the data to understand truly what that value is.
The favorite thing is keeping them busy.
Right? Amen to that. Amen to that.